What's up, family? Welcome back to the Stop Sinking Show, where we go from struggle to flow. All of us are, no doubt, at the receiving end of wrongdoing at one point or another in our lives. The unfortunate part of our human nature is that often we put ourselves above the needs of the group. And if that was limited to times when our back is against the wall, then it would be understandable. But it's more frequent than that. Many of us look at things through our own self-centered lenses, only how it affects us. So sometimes we are the wrongdoers. And when it is done to us, we pay very little mind to how we are culpable in the same wrongdoings. And focusing on how we are done wrong and not how we also do some of the same things can lead to a sense of blindness and a narrowing of emotion that can quickly degenerate towards hell. It makes us act in ways or ruminate on retaliation that weigh down our soul for way longer than the injury would have taken to heal. We then end up staining our time here on earth with self-serving, vindictive actions that, if you believe in karma or the equilibrium the universe tends to retain in its energy, you have to then believe that then those actions will have some equal and opposite reaction and is boomeranged on its way back to you. So no wrongdoing goes unpunished or goes without it coming back to you. But the thing I started to think about is, if someone is to do you wrong, again, if you are on the receiving end of wrong, what is the appropriate response to that situation? We just spoke about how a vindictive sense of revenge is not productive for your long-term well-being, nor does it feel good in the short term either, despite the empty satisfaction you think you may get. So the flavor of revenge is probably one you want to keep out of any response you may take. And still, most wrongdoings don't really require a response at all, other than just registering the offense and understanding that it's teaching you something about your own stories and fears and triggers, and of course also informs you about the sort of person that you are dealing with who would do you wrong. But Romans 12:19 says, "Vengeance is mine, I will repay, said the Lord. Judgment is God's business." And so for the most part, we need not play a part in what belongs to a higher, more just authority. For the most part, the best and most appropriate response and a form of revenge is to take the person or situation, figuring out where it's hurting and affecting you, and learning how not to hurt someone in that same way. Or as Marcus Aurelius says, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury, to be different, to not be worthy of being mentioned in the same sentence, by staying on your own level on the high road. But the question remains in my mind, what if the wrongdoer does wrong repeatedly? If you are being punched in the face, even if you take a non-violent oath and turn the other cheek, at that point, what's the most ethical response without the erosion that the energy of revenge brings, acting in a way that you can live with over time? And then I thought about the concept of Avenge and how they call a group of heroes looking to right the wrongs Avengers, not Revengers, for a reason. Now, my knowledge of Marvel movies or any of these movies is limited, so maybe there's some deeper meaning or the story to why they chose that name. But my limited understanding serves the purpose enough for my reflection. Again, while the end result of both revenge and avenge might be similar, where the wrongdoer is served consequences for their wrongdoing by the one who is done wrong or another on their behalf, to have harm or punishment be inflicted in response to a wrong, a form of vengeance, let's say, since it's built into the words. But the intent is different in those two. To avenge someone or your own self is done in service to justice or balance. It's a form of vindication or retribution on behalf of the victim, usually, and carries a sense of morality. An example would be to avenge your family's honor, to step up and do what others can't or won't in pursuit of justice. And revenge, like we spoke about, has a much more negative connotation than it carries. It's often purely motivated by personal payback for resentment caused, malice done, or for some people, revenge is a form of passion that they just like to ruminate on regularly. Usually also, revenge employs more than minimal required force. It can be excessive, repetitive, or cyclical, and usually causes just as much, if not more harm to the person seeking it than the person it's being done to. Examples of that would be endless feuds between families or groups, all leading to corrosion of foundational basic humanity and morality. And that's why it can quickly degenerate to hell. Because in the spirit of that energy, a person can stoop so low that they leave behind all concept of what it takes to function in socially dependent survival of the species. I don't know about you, but just thinking about avenging someone has this air of lightness and ascension to it, as if you are aiming above. Whereas revenge has this heavy coat, feeling that just weighs down even an ounce of productive energy a person may have left by drowning it in still waters of pseudo-righteousness. It's what Confucius said, before you embark on a journey of revenge, dig 2 graves. You are going down in there with them. Just the mere act of wanting to dig them underground digs your standing below the surface as well. Kant said, to avenge upholds universal justice, almost a duty to right wrongs. But revenge is subjective and immoral. True avenging can only happen through truth and reconciliation. Revenge degenerates into violence towards the human ethic. Nietzsche pointed out these dangers as well, calling revenge weak resentment. He says, what justice means to us is precisely that the world be filled with the storms of our revenge. We shall wreak vengeance and abuse upon all those whose equals we are not. Think about those last words. Upon all those whose equals we are not. That means your weak resentment can build towards a large array of people, towards humanity itself, those you consider below you, those above you, whose equal you are not. All fair targets now of your resentment. Think about the energy that takes. That's why Seneca said, how much better to heal than to seek revenge from injury. Vengeance takes a lot of time and exposes you to many more injuries than the first that sparked it, a cycle of degeneration towards hell. In the atmosphere of differences, combined with our human tendency to other everything that doesn't resemble us, it becomes an imperative to know where to toe the moral line, to know the difference between righting a wrong for yourself or righting a wrong because it is your moral duty to do so. While they both lead to vindication, not all vindication is just vindication. For the rest, to quote the clips, let God sort them out. Because for your soul, some fights ain't fight worthy. I love you, family. Stay true always. I'll see you on the next show.